Okay, good evening and welcome to my third stream here in Sector Jurisdom. Tonight I'm talking about last weekend's GT, where I took my Deathwatch to a win, going 5-0 in a I think it was in the end 38 player in the event. I will do it like I did last time, the same format. I will run through my list first and then I will jump to the actual missions and the tournament and go through what I met, how I played it with my secondaries and things like that. If you're watching it live, you can write questions in the chat. Otherwise, just send me a text on either Messenger, Mikael Kla, or in the Deathwatch Discord if you want to know something more, and I'll of course try to answer the best I can. Okay, let's go through, see, my cursor is seen. Okay, so the list I took to the GT was almost like my last list. Some variations I did due to the new points we got from the last update. All our kill teams costing 5 points less made a difference, which made me do some adjustments. And I also wanted to try out the Watchmaster to see how he fit in the new meta. So of course it was the Army of the Renown, and I spent if you've seen my list in the actual event, I updated it with the new battle scribe. So if you're looking at this stream, you will see how I played the list, because here you can see I started with 2 CP, and that's how I played all the missions, starting with 2 CP. And I don't think we can start with less if going with AOR. So actually I would like to start with 3, but starting with 2 makes you have 3 CP first round if you're going first. And then you can play Specialism Extremis if you want to go Alpha Strike round 1. So key is you can't go less than 2 CP, I think. And we have a lot of good things that we want to bring. So that is an issue. But let's take it away. So for my HQ, I upgraded for my librarian to Phobos 1, who now carries the Lord of Deceit warlord trait, so I can redeploy. And I think that is a key thing. Being able to play the mission well and have that redeploy is very nice. So you can forward deploy quite aggressively, planning on going first. And after roll-off, when you know if you're not going first or second, you can redeploy your 3 Phobos units. So the whole Spectres team, and also the Psyker if you want to. Of course, he has Primorphic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt. So you have the +1 to hit in combat, fight first, and you can set to defend with the 5+ Overwatch. But the key things is getting +1 to hit is very important on our big kill teams, because they are having a lot of hammers and hitting on force. And if you don't get the litany off and rerolling all hits, at least you want to be hitting on 3s with that kill team in melee. And also having that 5 up Feel No Pain is so important as well, because that makes our army so durable. Having one of those Indomitable kill teams standing in cover with a 5 up Feel No Pain, everyone thinks, oh, I can take that. And they're shooting with a knight, they're shooting with everything they have, and finally someone is still standing. So 2 very important. To talk future, I would like maybe upgrading him to Master 1, having +1 to cast would be great. I think in 2 of my games I didn't get the spells off, and I used a command point on the 5+ Feel No Pain, because that is so key, and got it off. Getting a 6 off is quite easy, but having +1 would be even easier. And I would maybe consider taking Mantle of Shadows as well, because then you can have that key unit standing in the back, showing up, getting shown during an action on your home objective, and still cast Mantle of Shadows, and no one can touch them. Quite important, I think, and can have a lot of play in the new meta. But for now, I played it like this, 2 spells. I had my Primaris Chaplain on bike. He's the same with he's an upgraded one, Wise Orator, so his litanies goes off on the 2+. He brings the Recitation of Focus to be able to give my shooting team a +1 in ranged. He has the Canticle of Hate aura. He has the Litany of Hate, so he can reroll all hits in melee and also give that 2 extra inch on the charge, as well as 3 inch pile in and consolidate, which is very key to get our melee teams into combat. So that is superb for the mobility and just getting everyone in when you actually charge. He carries 1 relic, the Beacon Angelis, and this is the way to teleport up mostly the big shooting team. But in some games, maybe you can consider bringing 1 melee team up as well. But I use it primarily to bring up the big shooting team from behind, standing in cover, so they can do their alpha strike with Specialism Extremis. And for that and the new meta, I also gave him optimized priority, because when I do that, I can now speed up, contest maybe the stronghold, if I go with Cripple Stronghold, that objective, and pull up my big Indomitor kill team. They shoot and they do the action to cripple the stronghold, turn 1. And they are hard to shift. And maybe I also put one of my Spectre skill team there, who also can do the action, or maybe they arrive and can do it the next turn or something like that. But I think the optimized priority, I used it a lot in the different games, and it's a very good warlord trait. So I think that one is gonna be a keeper. The Watchmaster, I just brought him to try him out. He has a 2-up save, so he's quite hard to shift, especially when standing in cover. And he also brings the full rerolls, who can be awesome when you're just wanna cast the litanies to get full rerolls to hit in melee and pull up with this guy and giving the extra charge, and then your big shooting team already got full rerolls to hit. So a key figure. He's slow, that was an issue, but still in the new meta we're playing a lot in our own table quarter, as you will see. And that makes him being able to get catch up with the rest of the units. So he was great, and he also has some cool stratagems, and I used one of them against knights, and that was cool. For the troops, everything is troops. So going into my first kill team, one of the Indomitor and my main shooting one, who does a lot of damage. I bring 5 heavy interests and 5 assault bolters. These guys now shoot 40 shots because they have the heavy bolt rifle, so they only shoot 2 shots, but they have strength 5, AB1 native going up to AP2, and the bolt inceptors also have strength 5, AP1 going up to AP2 when in tactical. And that is key, because now we have 40 shots that has AP2. And when facing Armor of Contempt, we need that AP2 to be able to make some real damage. One more key thing with this, making them Imperial Fist. So you make them Imperial Fist, because then they ignore cover and you get exploding 6s. Having full rerolls to hit and maybe hitting on 2s, you will be doing a lot of damage. So now you're ignoring cover. So no matter what Marine standing in cover, you are ignoring it. So they have their 3-up save. And then you have 2 AP2 going down to AP1. So now they're saving on 4-ups. And 40 plus, maybe you get around 45-50 shots with this team with exploding 6s and full rerolls. That is a lot of 4-ups rerolling. So you will average around 22 wounds on the enemy, bringing down a lot of things. And that is the same if you're facing maybe Tyranids and they have a 2-up or Custodes. Being able to force them up to their 4-up invul is great. My second Indominator, and these fly guys are awesome as well, because you can stretch this unit out quite a bit and tag objectives. So when they're just moving and shooting, it's perfect, because you can stretch out these guys going up to 10, and you can conga line them back, tagging at objective, and maybe keeping them close to the chaplain, and they can still do an action, which is great. The second Indominator kill team is consisting of 5 heavy intercessors with the Hellstorm rifle. That is the strength 5 AP0 3 shots assault variant. So these guys can advance. And then I have 4 aggressors and 1 inceptor. The inceptor is there, so you might stretch the reach a little bit more. If you roll an advance, that is mediocre, but you still want to reach that objective. You can put in Inceptor, who moves 10 up on objective and maybe do the action. And all these guys can shoot even though they advanced, and they are neat in combat as well when you get there. Having flamers, a lot of you have asked me already in the forum if I think that is better. I don't think so. I would prefer to have the Boltstorm gauntlets because of better range, and knowing the amount of shots is also key. 2d6, you don't know how many hits you're gonna get, but having those Boltstorm gauntlets, you know you're doing 6 shots, and that is more reliant. And also having that 6-inch extra range is key as well. But it's also 5 points per model, in this case 20 points, which I, for now, think I use better in my other teams. But that might change. These guys, I combat squad sometimes, and the Inceptor with the 4 aggressors go off, do missions and deep strike, and the 5 intercessors maybe hanging back on the backfield objective. But that was my plan. During this tournament, I actually play them as a 10 brick quite often, due to better durability, and you don't have that CP amount as you had before, being able to do all those redeploys with the teleportarium. So and having someone in deep strike from the beginning isn't possible because you need a CP. So I ended up playing these guys like a 10 brick quite often, which worked fine as well. They get more durable, they can move up, they can advance, and they can shoot quite a lot as well, but they also punch a lot in melee. These AP0 going to AP1 guys still do damage to things that doesn't have armor of contempt, which is great. And into things like Crutes, having just a toughness 3 1 wound, they do a lot of damage. So these guys will shoot some armies as well, but having that other team with AP2 is key for the armor of contempt and the 2-up saves on a lot of heavy stuff. Then I bring 2 identical Proteus team. The first one looks the same as that one. I take a Black Shield with a Thunderhammer, and I have 2 Van Vets with heavy Thunderhammers and a Sergeant with a heavy Thunderhammer. These 4 guys is the damage. This is 10 heavy Thunderhammer attacks on the charge, plus this guy who has 5 Thunderhammer attacks on the charge, plus his chainsword. Facing a Zenus, you boost that with 1 CP for an extra attack, you have a lot of damage coming in. The bike is there for the mobility, getting that stretch on the movement. You can conga line, you move this one up, then the 2 Van Vets 2 inch behind, going 2 within 2, and then behind that you can conga line the rest of the unit, which makes you being able to go up to almost your full 14 inch on the bike and then roll your advance. And if you're white scars, you're gonna get quite far up the table, And then if you get your litany off with a 2+ charge and 3 extra pile-in, then you have quite a mobility. So the 2 Vanvets and the bike are there for the mobility and also the heavy Thunderhammers. And the heavy Thunderhammers are so much better than the regular Thunderhammers, because you have that 1 extra AP and you have flat 4 damage. Even though Death Guard might have -1 damage, their Terminators still just take 3, only can take 3 damage, and that's what you're hitting with. The extra points I got from the point drop, I actually put in extra storm shields, so now I have 3 veterans with just a bolter and a storm shield. They are there to take high AP shots, so the unit can move forward and stay resilient. The Terminator is there to take all the small shots. When he's standing in cover, he has a 1-up save with armor content, which is great. And then just a sheep guy with a chainsword and a bolter, because you need to fill out the squad, and he could have some, against some cheaper, easier small units you can still punch with your chainsword, and the same on the bike. I paid 5 points to bring the Deathwatch teleport homer. This is discussed a lot in the forums, and raw, it's not clear how you can field it. The Kill Team Cassius can field it in the book, but if you look in the page for the Proteus, you can't take any equipment on any Terminator if you're looking raw on the Proteus kill team, because there are no marks for equipment adjustments. But I think I play it as it intended, and most TOs will allow you to bring the Deathwatch teleport homer and play it as it's written during Kill Team Cassius. As long as you have the Terminator, you can use it. If the Terminator is dead, then you don't have it. And that's how it's played. But check with your TO before, otherwise I would use those 5 points elsewhere, and maybe then you have 10 points to spare, maybe dropping maybe 2 other storm shields, 1 storm shield from each team. You have those 20 points to upgrade your aggressors to bolt storms. Might be able. The other team, just the same. 2 Vanvets with heavy Thunderhammers and the Sergeant and the Black Shield. These are the damage, mobility, and just taking up damage and some extra chainsword attacks. Okay. Finally, I put some upgrades into my Spectre skill team. Last time I played, I brought some Inceptors and maybe some Eliminators with regular Bolt Storm, the sniper rifle. Now I took 5 last fusils because they're great. And these guys standing in cover soak so much damage. When you're standing in cover, you have a 1-up save with armor content. Even when hit by Melta, you're going up to let's see, a 4-up. So these guys will be saving Melta on a 4-up in cover. And then you have the Helix gauntlet in the team with 4 last fusils standing in cover, and they can take some shots. And the first one going through is ignored by the Helix adept. So they actually tank a lot of damage, and they can play the mission well. And also these last fusils ship in a lot of damage when they get the line of sight. So they did do a lot for me during the game. Okay, so that was my list. Going through that. Now let's jump over to the tournament. It was Viking Games summer tournament. I don't remember the actual name, but you can find it in BCP. I think they streamed. They streamed every game on the top table, and I actually played there for my 3 last games, being in the lead. So I got to play the last 3 missions on the stream. If you want to find out and see the actual games, I think you can find them on Twitch. Search for Viking Games Sweden, and you might find the games there. The missions we played was recover the relics. And as you see here, they had a house rule. And me, who playing with the infiltrators, I didn't need this because I can still have units on objectives in no man's land. But knights and other players didn't like the mission because they are not getting CP turn 1, and if they go in second they are losing 2 CPs because so they had this house rule, which meant you're actually having one of the objectives being able to touch it from your deployment zone. So it was more even for every player, no matter what army they played, due to the CP. It meant nothing especially for me, but yeah, some guys needed it. After that it was Data Scry Salvage. They actually had 2 missions, hold 2, so Data Scry and Tide of Conviction. And the Scouring, who nowadays is just hold 1 for 5, and then you have that big deployment. Tide of Conviction, that is the only Dawn of War, which is a hold 2 with the objectives just scuffle over in sideways, and then we ended up secure missing artifacts, which is the game where you move the objectives. Okay, going into game 1. I was facing White Scars, and looking at the mission, I was thinking of how to best. They are a very mobile army, so going with Long Vigil here was a bit of a chance, but he didn't have so many things that could jump up the board totally, but he still had some jump pack units, as you can see here. I wanted to try Long Vigil, and I wanted to see how I could screen off my backfield with the Spectres team. And also I went with banners because I think that one is great, and especially on this mission where you have 1, 2, 3 objectives in near your home, so you're going to easily raise 3 objectives with banners, and with all our obsec it's going to be easy to hold them as well. And in this game I went with prisoners because he had some wounds at least, and I was on when playing the mission you can also gain extra points for killing the units, so it was doubling up on that one. And this is the problem now, I think, with Deathwatch, is that we used to have some great secondaries. So going into this tournament I was actually quite nervous, and I thought, oh shit, this ain't gonna go good, because I didn't get so much practice before this one, and also the new secondaries, I didn't know how to play them. Because nowadays we don't have 3 great ones, we have 2 in most matchups, but that we're missing that third, and that is a problem. Before we could take maybe Oath, deploy Teleportomers and Stranglehold, and play like that, and yeah, get a solid maybe 15 on several of them. Now we have Long Vigil, which is great, it's so great. But if you're facing a very mobile MSU army, you're gonna have a problem. So then we can't go with Long Vigil. But otherwise, Long Vigil is great because that will force your opponent to come to you, and we have a lot of killing power. So that battlefield supremacy, Long Vigil. In the case we can't go Long Vigil, I think great second one might be Shock Assault. Which might not be great if you were not going first, but still there are some solutions to that one as well. But if you're facing maybe Harlequins, maybe not going Long Vigil, maybe try Shock Assault instead. Banners is great, especially on maps like this. If you can go banners, go banners. Otherwise we have the new Cripple Stronghold, which is great as well, because now they have to choose one objective in no man's land, and we can do it as long as we control the objective. which is great, especially when you have a lot of forward deploy and you have the possibility to run up with your chaplain on bike, stand on the objective, pull up your big Indomitor kill team, and shoot and do the action at the same time. So that is also very good secondary. So we have in Shadow Ops banners or crippled stronghold, and long vigil or shock assault for battlefield supremacy. Those are maybe the 4 best ones, I think. And then depending on your matchup, you most likely want to do something killy, either prisoners, grind, bring it down, or if facing a Xenos MSU, suffer not alien. Or maybe in some matchups assassinate as well might work, but the key is prisoners. It's easy, you're gonna kill a lot, so if the army you're facing has a lot of wounds, go with prisoners. If they have a lot of units but ain't a Xenos, or they have a lot of units but not enough to go suffer not alien, you might go grind. And of course when facing big knights, you now go with bring it down. Back to the game, recover the relics. I was facing white scars. I was going first, which I didn't actually want to do, but I deployed my Spectres kill teams on the forward parts, and then I had my big Indomitor. This was my side. So I had the Spectres here, and my Indomitor kill teams here, and I moved up my kill teams for a charge over here, and saved the other one on this side. Run 1, I just went up, stood in cover with everything I could, and raised banners, and shifted over the game to his turn. I wanted him to come to me so I can do the first damage. And it's quite a lot of psychological play also in the game when you have the possibility to threaten the whole board with your chaplain on bike and pulling up the big shooting team. So most enemies, when going through your list, I actually talk a lot about it, because it frightens them and they deploy like he did, very defensively, very far back with all his army. But to play the game, he want to move forward. But now he's standing in the back. So now he's going to try to move forward and getting exposed and can't do damage. And I'm just scoring long vigil and banners. Just standing there waiting him out. And that is the difference, I think now, from before. We don't have to do the alpha strike turn 1. We actually will score more points in the late game. As you can see here, I scored 2 12s in the end. So playing it safe and cool in the beginning, just raising those banners, getting screened out your deployment so you can do long vigil and wait for him to come to you. Is a great method, I think, playing the new missions. And that way is what happened. He moved up, he was trying to get on the objectives. And the next turn I just pulled up my Indomitor here. I charged his unit here, which you can see over here. I shot off everything he has here and did a lot of damage. And now I'm controlling the mid board and screening out here with the second. In this game I actually did split my second Indomitors, and I had 5 heavy intercessors screening this corner, and the Flamestorm Gauntlet and Inceptor screening this corner. So the Inceptors, the Infiltrators and Snipers could be up here. And that's how the mission actually went. He tried to do a push over here with all his Terminators, who whiffed quite big. He hit my team with the 5 Invul, and they survived a lot of damage and hit back. And broke his army in maybe turn 2-3, and then I just could roll up the rest of the mission, scoring and taking the board and getting all my banners and long vigil, and I think he had some units in the end, but almost tabling and getting a 12 on the prisoners for a 92-50. Second game, facing knights, chaos knights, renegades, and it's a great player, and he actually went through his list, and I was quite scared because I never faced knights before, especially not the new ones, the chaos ones, and he had a lot of small dogs. He had one big abominant, the one with feel no pain and all the boosts, and then he had 10 small ones, I think. So in this mission, this is data scry, so you need to hold 2, and you need to do an action to score the progressive one. You do an action on your home one, and then depending on how many you hold in the mid, you get an extra point. Doing banners on this one is hard, because you will be trading objectives in the mid. So banners wasn't a good choice here, but cripple stronghold is, because you know somewhere in the middle he has to pick it, and then you can be there. I actually deployed my infiltrators like this and like this, standing on a conga line, touching all the objectives. I placed my bike so he could swing up. I think I had him on the corner here, so he could either boost up here and maybe conga line out, or over here. He ended up taking this one as his stronghold because he had his abominant standing here, which was fine for me, because now I knew I could just move up my infiltrators here and also bring up my Indomitable kill team, trying to shoot him off. He did know about the Indomitable kill team being able to shoot a lot, but I think he was hoping for going first, which would have been another game. Even though I tried to hide my entire army, I had the big Indomitable shooting team in here together with one of the melee teams, the second melee team in here. I had my second big Indomitor. I kept him as a 10 here to be more resilient, better durability. Standing behind this one, this was obscuring as well. When all this was covered, they had some small windows, but it was hard to get a line of sight. And then the Spectres standing over here on these all 4 objectives. I won the roll-off, which was great for my part. So this actual Spectre Steel team moved up here, together with the bike going up here and pulling up my Indomitor, getting ready to shoot at his Abominant. These Spectres actually moved up to charge one of his shooting ones over here, trying to tie him up in combat and also screening off here so he couldn't move forward. It actually pulled off and he couldn't kill off the entire team, but he killed some, so the screening didn't work as intended, but it made him a bit slower on this flank as well. Other secondaries I took was Cripple Stronghold, which was this one. I was able to do it every turn. I had Long Vigil, because for him to get down here, and Holy Within, which is very hard for knights. Holy Within, they had to have the whole base in your deployment. They're not doing that. So Long Vigil was an easy out to take here, and I choose Bring It Down, and I actually tabled him in the end. So getting a full 15 there, having 98 points. Playing aggressive into knights, I think is important, because they will do so much damage if they see you. So getting out some key units for them in the beginning is key. In this matchup I wanted to kill the Abominant early because he's doing his psychic and he's a pain if you get later into the game. So I actually pulled up here knowing I might lose my Spectres, the big Indomitor kill team the next round, because he had a lot of small knights as well here. I actually didn't pull it off. I actually brought him down to 1 wound or something like that, and then he healed the next round. But I got it down at this, I think, here, round 3. The Abominant. I actually fired down his small knights in the beginning, who was also big on buffs. The melee team actually advanced up here, charged as well during turn 1, and I kept this one in reserves, being able to focus down here. This big Indomitable kill team I pulled out for a CP into deep strike round 2 or 3, coming down on round 4 here, shooting him off these objectives and charging up with the aggressors, stealing these as well, clearing off here. So I think in the end he just had one knight, which I think I killed in his turn 5 in the combat phase, because I tagged him in combat on the objective. And he couldn't fall back, or he didn't fall back, so I actually killed it off the last turn, so he didn't get any scores in round 5. Chaos Knights, so bring it down is great against Knight. We will kill a lot of Knights if we get the possibility. And Long Vigil also. So these two are out to takes. Depending on the map, Cripple Stronghold or Banners. Knights. Game 3, Death Guard. They are tanky. And now I was on the stream table, so this game you can find on Twitch for Viking Games Sweden. This was the Scouring. You have 2 big deploys and all the missions in No Man's Land. My secondaries I went with was Long Vigil, because he's slow, and yeah, maybe he can have something in Deep Strike, but it will be easy to screen. So Long Vigil against Death Guard is an out to take. Here as well, you have the possibility to have at least 2 easy one for having 2 points every round for an easy 10. And if it's going well, you might contest some more, get some more banners, which is great. So banners, you could take Cripple Stronghold on this one as well. But he will probably take one of these, and then you have to push hard on that front. And Death Guard, I don't want to push into Death Guard because they can do a lot of damage. So I want to play the cool game, as I mentioned before, staying back, forcing him to come to me. And that's why I went with banners. So I can raise these 2 and force him to come to me, and then I can do some real damage to him. So I went with Long Vigil, banners, and Bring It Down. Bring It Down on this game, I knew he had some PBCs. Standing here, you see a playbook scroll here. He had some Rhinos, 1, 2 I think, and then he had these 2 Moors and Mortarion as well. So I think in the end I got 13 on that one. I think that was max. I think I got everything down that gave points for Bring It Down. But still, that's the hard part. We're lacking the great third. But here, Bring It Down was, I think, was the best, because on Prisoners he didn't have so many wounds. Maybe 8 points if I table him, and they are resilient fuckers. Sorry for that. And Grind, he has not so many units. So it wasn't great. Assassinate wasn't great. So Bring was the best one, and I actually got a great score on it as well. In this game I played the cool game. So first, going through the list, I tell him my big shooting team, if I pull it up, it kills Mortarion in 1 round. I've done it before in tournaments, so I tell him that. So he has the possibility and not get gotcha'd by pulling Mortarion up. And now we actually have a psychological win, because he's deploying it far back, because he don't want it to get alpha striked. But we're not going to alpha strike, but he doesn't know that. So he's putting Mortarion back, and there he doesn't do any damage, and he can't use him. So which is great for us. So in the same thing as before, I can move up and raise some banners. Try to contest the middle and lure him out, and try to start shipping off these guys instead. So hitting these with some last fuses and some bolts and moving up, and then I actually when he moved forward in his turn, I propelled up and tagged a lot of things with my combat team here, and then forcing Mortarion to act, going into the middle, and then I push up whole my army and I do the Specialism Extremis and kill Mortarion, and then get the overtake of the game and roll him up and finishing off in this corner, almost tabling him as well. So it was a great game, and the strategy actually worked, playing the long game, which I think is a better key. And that is also why the Watchmaster is working so fine with this army right now, because we're not just throwing everything up in the face. We're actually positioning ourselves in the beginning and then moving up, doing the damage later on. And the Watchmaster actually can keep up and always throw out his boosts and actually do something as well if he gets into combat. That was day 1, and I had now 3-0, and I didn't think I was going to do that well, but it was very fun going into the second day, knowing though I had a very hard opponent the next day. Daniel Hesselberg's Imperial Knights. He is a very known 40k player in Sweden. He's been on the VTC team a lot. He played for maybe 20 years or more. So he knows his shit, and he was probably the one that people thought was going to take the tournament and win. So I was very happy actually bringing a win from this game. But very nervous. So I knew Imperial Knights, and he had some great wins where he was shooting everyone off the table. And this terrain is not great against Knight, because as you can see, there are a lot of windows on these ruins if you look on these buildings here. And he actually just has to touch the ruin, and then he can see the whole battlefield. So just being able to just maneuver around these or touching to see everything, it's not great for us. And this open part in the middle. So the terrain was an issue. I was planning on doing the same thing here. I knew he couldn't do contest me for a long vigil. He has wholly within deployment. It's very hard for him to get wholly within deployment. So long vigil wasn't out to take banners, because you have 1, 2, 3 close to your base. So easy banners and bring it down, because well, you have to kill him, otherwise he will kill you. So that was my last secondary. In deployment, I tried to hide my army, and this terrain part you see down here was actually played as a ruin, giving obscuring keywords. So as long as you didn't touch it, you could stand behind it. I thought this melee team here was totally hidden, but it wasn't. So this was a major mistake, putting this team here. I wanted it to be able to go up fast and start pushing on this side, but it was a very big fault from my side, and these guys ending up dying in turn 1 because he went first. Otherwise, I hid both my big Indomitable kill teams behind this big ruin. During the actual tournament, it was played like 2 ruins, so in the middle here is a line, and this part is obscuring and this part is obscuring. So standing in here, as long as this part is covering, this gives obscuring to this part, which made it a bit easier and more easy to use. But as you can see down here, it's a lot of staircases, and it's very beautiful terrain, but it's very hard to play on. Moving all your models inside these, it's hard. Down here you can't see him, but actually I had my Spectre skill team with 4 last fusils and a Helix Gauntlet standing in this ruin together with Massacre. The Watchmaster started off over here, and my last kill team for the project kill team was standing over here when I was finished with my deploy. So he went first. he actually didn't see anything on this side, but he could move out here and shoot these guys off. And then this knight run up here and try to shoot some of these guys through touching this ruin. He could see these. And I think he actually killed one of the guys, and then he contested this objective from me. I think. No, we maybe didn't actually kill it, so we were even out during that turn 1. Actually, one jump pack unit actually survived the shooting and survived morale. So during my turn 1, I actually moved this hammer guy up here, so I had 6 guys on the objective and I could raise the banner here. While my other first big Proteus kill team actually made up an advance to charge over here the knights and start doing damage. I think, no, actually he had one knight moving up here. This one moved down here, this one followed, and that one made his move over here. So I actually moved up here, charged this one who was standing on this objective, and then I swung over here, touching this one as well in combat. Just to try and tying him up and not getting forward into my base. After that, I also brought my chaplain up here, as you can see, standing over here, and I took my big shooting team like a big blob here and brought this guy down to 1 wound, or 2 wounds. So we actually saved quite good, and I did a lot of misses, even though with full rerolls to hit. So he spin his shield, so he had a 4-up save instead of a 5-up. So, but it almost went down with the shooting. But he thought he could easily kill this unit, which is a problem because people think these guys can be easily killed. But when these guys are standing here, some in cover, and you have a 5-up feel and pain on them, they do take a lot of damage. So in his turn 2, he was focus firing these guys, and also he needed to kill this team. So these guys were killing this one together with this one, and the rest of his team was shooting this team. He spent CP to this one act as on his full, but they didn't die. I think 4 Inceptors lived in the end, and 4 Inceptors can do a lot of damage with 6 shots each, AP2, strength 5. Even though he has a T8, strength 5 is wounding on 5s. So with a lot of shots, with hitting, some wounds are going to go in, and he actually went down the next round. So turn 2, I brought down his big knight, and also one of the small ones. This game was cat and mouse. He was pushing, I was pushing back. I went up here contesting this objective for him, and tying these guys up in combat with the 4 Inceptors and the chaplain, which I sacrificed here to just tag his objective, bring him down on the primary. I think that was in my turn 3. Let's check. No, that was in my turn 2. Turn 1, I pulled everything up, shoot. Next round, I contested this objective and tied these guys up in combat. The chaplain charged both of them, and my Inceptors together with the chaplain were touching the objective, so I brought him down to 4. Which is great when you have that possibility to just up and contest. The long game was I was losing a lot of units because knights shoot a lot, but in the end he actually was forced to try to kill me, which made him not being able to do his secondaries. So as you can see, Renew, Oath and Honor didn't bring him so much points because they were not so great against me. We were even on the primary, but I won the secondary game. And I think if you look in the BCP, actually the points are a bit lower there because We missed during when sending in. We just counted 3 small knights. We actually killed all these 3 plus one of these guys and the big one. So I got a 12 instead of a 10, which we reported. And we calculated wrong on banners, just getting me an 11. So the right score was 85-79, so it was a very tight game, but still a win. The final game was again Tau. The Tau list was a Borken Hammerhead spam, which was great into knights and tyrannids and things with very big things, but into an infantry army with a lot of bodies, it's not the same great army. So we had from the beginning a psychological advance because he had never played Deathwatch. He was nervous about facing us, and also his list was not opted to go into a big infantry army. And now we had the chance to play some Xenos. Here I took the Long Vigil. I didn't score so well on it. It's a very big deployment. It's hard to screen out. It maybe was the wrong move. Maybe I should have gone with Shock Assault because I was gonna push up and take his objectives because I want to get into combat with him because he can't withstand in combat. So Shock Assault might have been a better choice here, but still I got 8. I actually thought I would got 12, but we saw that he screened out, so 8. Banners because you're gonna move one objective. In this matchup, Cripple Stronghold might be awesome as well, because Cripple Stronghold, if you're able to move objectives, so he has to choose one of these. I don't know if it's possible how far this will be from the edge, but if you're able to move this one straight back and actually touch the line here so it's inside his deployment, he can't choose that one, and then it's either the center one or this. I have to measure that one and see if it's possible, because then Cripple Stronghold will be a very strong. I went with banners because I knew I would be able to raise this one and maybe this one with my specters after moving it, and then I want to push up the middle. But easy 10 for the banners, and I thought I was going to score better on Long Vigil, and then I choose Grind. It's a killy one. The reason I didn't go with Suffer Not Alien on this one is because he only had 15 units, I think, so which meant if I table him I get 15, and then I thought I will probably kill more units than him every round, so I went with Grind instead. I thought that was gonna give me at least 12, which it did. Last round I couldn't kill enough. He killed something from me, and I didn't have so many enemies left to kill, so I couldn't score Grind last round. The deployment, as you can see, it's like this. I try to hide everything behind here because I didn't want him to shoot anything turn 1. He won roll off. He moved his Riptide, which was my biggest threat, up here, and got a line of sight to my Indomitor kill team, who was standing in the ruin, and I thought they would be obscured here, but he could find a line when touching this ruin. He saw through and could see the unit over here. So he actually shot that unit. I was planning on maybe going with Transhuman, but I wanted to keep the CPs so I could do Specialist and Extremist and bring the Riptide down. So in the end I made a chance. I thought he had AP 3, damaged 3. Now I don't have my Feel No Pain up, but he would be hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s. So 10 shots, getting 6 in, wounding 4, killing maximum 4. And he ended up killing 2 because we still get a save standing in cover, and he didn't ignore it. So even though we had a high AP, I think I had a 5-up save on those Indomitors. So they survived. So during my turn 1 I actually moved up here and went Specialist Extremists and brought the Riptide down. And my kill team here, swarmed. He had a forward movement and went in here with turn 1. So I swarmed that one and slingshot up to this wall, standing in cover, which made his secondary game harder because he wanted to be on the lines doing some action. I think it was called aerospace something. And decisive action was also one of his, and he went with prisoners because it's easy to just kill us. And this list gives up too much wounds, so prisoners is great against us, which is one of the flaws with armies. He actually tried to move up a second team here, and I informed him that we could do a heroic intervention because he had to be close enough for that to be possible to do the action. But he tried it anyway, and I spent my last CP to actually heroic intervene and killing that unit in combat, interrupting his secondary and slingshot up here. And he actually moved this hammerhead here to contest the objective and shoot, so I could kill that one the next turn. So actually I rolled up with my melee teams, and the aggressors moved forward and charged in here, so taking over this part. A key thing I thought was to kill off all his infantry so he couldn't do the secondary game, so that was my focus during the early game, trying to kill all his units, and the Riptide of course. So he would be left just with the hammerheads and his crisis suits. He ran, I think, 3 units of 2 bodyguard crisis suits. So that was the game. In the end, he had a lot. He actually deep striked a crisis unit back here. Hi Dylan, thanks for the chat. So he denied my long vigil here because I lost the screen. I tried to move out some infiltrators here together with the mage cycler. I mean, but I didn't screen enough. Just 2 bodies is easy to drop, so we actually was able to screen get into my long vigil and forced me to have a 0. Killed him last turn, so I could have a 4. I killed him in turn 4, so I could get it in the last turn. But it was still a win. We got 88 to 43, and that made me win the tournament because now I had gone 5-0, so I had a win in both games and the battle points. I think I was 1 point before Daniel Hesselberg, who I faced in this game. He came second, going 4-1, and had 1 battle point less than me. So a very fun tournament. A big thing with Viking Games is they put a lot of theme into their actual terrain, so the terrain ain't just like any other event. As you can see on the other boards, they try to make all the different tables different, so you can't rely on getting a great terrain for your game. You have to be able to be flexible, and that is very good for our army because we have a very flexible army. And now with the new secondaries, I think it is key that we can play more cool in the beginning, staying back, waiting for the enemy to come to us, and then punch back, scoring early with long vigil and banners. Because if they want to stop us from scoring our secondary, they had to come to us, and then we can start scoring our killer one when they are more exposed. So I think that is my main lesson for the new Deathwatch in Nihilum and how to play the secondary game. I think we should try to play secondaries, which gives us points for being passive in the beginning, so we can work up our CP, and when we have some CP and the enemy is more exposed, we then can push and start killing them. That is my takes from this tournament. You're glad to send me any questions after this one, just either on Microsoft Messenger, find me Mikael Kla, and I think I have a bicycle helmet going out with my mountain bike. Or you can text me here below in the comments, or just on the Discord where it's Mikael Kla as well. So thank you all for watching, and have a nice evening, and see you out there. Emperor protects. Take care. Actually, so I got a question there in the last minute. Thank you for the chat. I think the major changes I might be doing, I went over them in the beginning, is I would like to have the bolt storm aggressors instead, because you have better range, and that is key sometimes, and also knowing how many shots you have. Finding those points is the hard part. So it comes down to points. Where do you take points from? I like the Watchmaster. He brings a lot to the table, especially when you're playing the long game. As I talked about, playing it cool, he will be able to buff parts of your army all the time. And also I think those are the main changes I would do to the list. Otherwise, I like it. I would like to have more CPs, but you can't. You need a beacon on your chaplain. You need him upgraded so you can go off on 2-ups, and you also need the Lord of the Seat on your cycler, so you can have the redeploys. Being able to move, be very offensive if you go first is key, but if you go in second, you want to be able to save those souls. So you have to spend 3 CP at least, and then you're down to 3. And then I think, just because of the secondary game is so important, I think the aura I take for being able to shoot and do actions is very good. I'm gonna keep it, so I will be starting on the next tournament as well with 2 CPs, and I think the big next tournament is in September, 100 player GT 2-day event, and I will think I'm going to take almost the same list, maybe some tweaks. The secondary game, as I went over in some of the games, some wrong picks maybe, but otherwise we have some good, and some we have a Long Vigil, which is great, Cripple Stronghold, who is great, Banners is great. That's the 3 main ones, and then we can do Shock Assault as well if we can't go Long Vigil, and then we need 1 killy 1 and bring it down, grind. Prisoners are the big ones. If we're facing Xenos MSU, we might be able to pull off Suffer Not Aiden. So those are the big ones, I think. Maybe Oath is possible on a map with 1 central objective as well. It might be a good one. Hope that answered your question. Thank you for dropping in. And now, thank you for tonight. Ending out. Bye.